What's up everybody, and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the 2024 Subaru Crosstrek Limited. This one's finished in sapphire blue pearl with an MSRP at $35,000. So let's get right into this rugged compact crossover. Underneath the hood of the 2024 Subaru Crosstrek Limited, you're going to find that naturally aspirated 2.5 liter flat 4-cylinder motor. This pumps out 182 horsepower with 178 pound-feet of torque. Of course, this has the CVT transmission with an 8-speed shiftable mode, and it also has the symmetrical all-wheel drive system. Curb weight is around 3,300 pounds. It runs on a 16.6 gallon fuel tank, and you can expect 26 miles per gallon in the city with 33 out on the highway, and it can tow about 1,500 pounds. The overall length is 176.4 inches with a wheelbase at 105.1. Width is 70.9 and height is 63 inches. Moving on to the exterior styling with the 2024 Subaru Crosstrek. Of course, this has the Subaru style to it with the plastic cladding all around. However, it does have a pretty nice aggressive look. Got a nice set of LED headlights with a dark housing pointing towards this center grille. There's also a nice gray trim piece leading to that Subaru badge, and then we have huge openings to provide a ton of cooling to the engine. You're also going to see more of this plastic material on the side with some gray trim, and then you can see the LED fog light down below. Got more of the plastic material for the lower front bumper to give it that rugged appearance. Another opening to provide a ton of cooling. It does have a nice look overall. Nice and sporty. Definitely looks like a rugged crossover. And then you have some sharp body lines up in the hood leading towards that windshield. At the side profile, you're going to get more of that plastic material going into these side fender flares and of course the whole lower section. This also has a set of 18-inch wheels finished in a two-tone design with more of that gray coloring, and then just a clean body line throughout the side profile. Mirror cap is finished in that gray color, along with a turntable in the side, and then you have all black trim throughout these windows. Up above, you're going to get a nice set of roof rails and a small sunroof with a shark fin antenna. And then for the overall side profile, you can tell it's a more compact crossover, but it has a pretty good style overall. Has that Subaru look to where you can tell this is an off-roader for some semi-aggressive trails. And then in back, we have a nice set of red taillights. You got some halogen bulbs in there, and then an integrated spoiler up above with some black trim throughout it. You got your Crosstrek logo along with the Subaru symmetrical all-wheel drive, and then more of the plastic material finishing up the rear. Got some trim, one of the reflectors, a nice sporty looking diffuser, and then some sharp body lines in back, finishing it up. Taking a look at the key fob, you got your lock and unlock button along with a trunk release, and then just some silver trim. The lock button is up here with unlock being the Subaru badge. However, you do have the smart key where you can just grab the door handle and it will automatically unlock. This has a pretty nice two-tone leather interior with the gray and lighter gray. For the door panel, you can see the nice lighter gray with orange stitching. Has some soft touch padding to it. A little bit of padding on the armrest with a grab handle. Then of course all the window mirror controls and lock and unlock. Got your release handle with this plastic carbon fiber style design. A little bit of storage down below, and then some power controls for the driver's seat. You can see the two-tone color with the contrast stitching. I do like the perforations in the center. You can see that hexagon shape along with the orange inside the perforations. Looks pretty sporty going all the way up to the backrest with more of the contrast stitching. And spinning around, you got the 3-spoke steering wheel with more contrast stitching. And then now inside the Subaru Crosstrek, keeping my foot on the brake, let's go ahead and fire it up. Got the screen in the center along with a screen for that center gauge cluster. You got your Subaru badge in the center and some Bluetooth and audio controls over on the left side, and then to the right you can see cruise control settings along with your 2 drive modes. We have the normal mode and then a little bit more of a sporty mode. On the left side you're going to see that tach along with engine temperature, and then on the right you can see the speedometer along with your fuel. And then for the center screen, you got a nice little display with some trip information, your odometer, things like that. Tire pressure will pop up, compass, and then just a few things. So it's simple, however it'll get the job done. On the right side, you are going to see those steering wheel mounted paddle shifters along with the stalk for the windshield wipers and then turn signals over on the left. Down below all that, we have interior lighting, more of the plastic carbon look, and then just some nice design around the air vent with this plastic material. You can see the design to it, kind of a textured plastic, more of the plastic carbon look. And then Subaru's infotainment screen, which you're pretty familiar with on every single Subaru. So up above, we have a nice shortcut with a few different items on it that'll pop up, some vitals within the car. And then you can continue over. You have your drive modes with the X mode. So nice to see the off-road capabilities. We have some audio information in the center, a few shortcuts down below. Tapping the car icon, you can see a lot of the vehicle dynamics and things like that. Auto start stop. We have driver's assistance, and then a few more settings over here. We have auto start stop. Home icon gets you back to here, where you have a few different tiles you can tap. And then we have a driver profile as well you can edit. Climate controls down below. This screen section will always be there. And then you can get the full screen with all sorts of different adjustments. You are going to have temperature on the left and right side that you can easily adjust. And then we have volume on the left, tuning over on the right. If I go ahead and put it into reverse, you're going to get that backup camera popping up in the upper portion of the screen with your guidelines, and then popping it back into park. And then down below we have a wireless phone charging pad along with a few different plugs. There's heated seats in here, more of this orange color with this carbon fiber look for the vinyl around the shifter, and then electronic parking brake and storage down below. You have some soft padding for your armrest with contrast stitching, and then a nice little cubby, and then of course a good sized glove box. One last look at the interior. It looks like a Subaru, pretty much what you would expect from any Subaru of the last several years. Pretty nice interior overall, especially for the price point. It's got a rugged feeling to it with a somewhat luxury vibe. Got a light colored headliner along with the manual sunshade up above. And then there's dome light controls, the glass roof controls, and then you can see a nice thin mirror with good size sun visors with vanity mirrors, and they even have the extension. Moving on to the rear seat space, if I grab the door handle and open it up, door panel's finished off similar to the front. You're going to get a little bit cheaper plastics back here. However, you do have the padding for the armrest. There is the contrast stitching as well. And then the seat material is all the same with the nice two-tone, all the contrast, and even the cool perforations throughout the center. Now this can seat 3 people back here. In the center, you can pull the armrest down. We have a nice armrest with 2 cup holders. And then there's just going to be a few plugs and then storage behind that passenger seat. There's these little pops you can pull, and that will get these seats nice and flat, giving you extra cargo space, and then of course room into the back. So hopping into the back seat with the Subaru Crosstrek. So at 5'11", I'm a little big feeling back here. Like, this is not the biggest vehicle out there, obviously. So sitting here, my head is pretty tall towards the ceiling. I still do have about an inch of headroom because there's a nice cutout. However, this lower section up here is almost in my line of sight, so it definitely makes me feel like I'm really tall. The seats are fine. They're decently padded. However, the bases are pretty short, kind of cutting off down here on my legs. So I feel like my legs are kind of like I'm sitting on the edge of a bench. So it's fine. I wouldn't say this is the best family car out there, but if you're gonna put just stuff back here, maybe kids every now and then, your friends every now and then, not a bad way to go. It has the space. Would I say this is the best backseat out there? Definitely not. But for a smaller compact crossover for an affordable price, 2 people, this would be pretty good for, and the back seats are good in a pinch. And then moving on to the cargo space, there's gonna be a very small button underneath the Subaru logo where we can manually lift open the gate. And you do have a pretty wide floor in here. It's nice and squared off. There is some storage on the far left side and far right side. We have a privacy cover if needed. Of course, you can easily remove that and get it out of the way. Now from back here, you have access to those where you can easily pop these down to give you all sorts of space. And of course, amplify the amount of cargo area you're gonna get in the back of this compact. Now you're going to see some lights. We have some extra tie hooks to connect a few different things. And then if we take a look underneath the flooring, you can see the strap over here. Lifting this up, we do have a nice spare tire and of course all of the equipment you're gonna need. So overall, pretty useful smaller car. There's a handle on that far side as well, and we can easily close it up. All right, so setting off now in the Subaru Crosstrek. In the sport mode, flooring it a little bit. It's not a race car, it's definitely not that fast. The CVT, there is like programmed gearing to it, so it's a little interesting to where you're gonna feel somewhat of a shift, basically. It kind of lurches the car a little bit each time. So not obviously anything refined like any performance car. However, it still gets up to speed good enough. It's not like sluggish, so it'll be fine for getting into traffic, things like that. When you go into the I mode, it definitely is a little bit more sluggish, so I've been finding myself driving it in the S mode just to give me a little bit more RPM, a little bit more power out of it. I find it a little slow in the I mode. Normal driving, it's a fine car, honestly. The front seats are pretty comfortable. They support your legs and everything really well. Really good visibility, as you can tell. I mean, really easy to see over everything, even over your right and left shoulder. Really nothing too crazy or anything. So it's a pretty decent driving experience as far as just a normal economy car that is a little bit nicer and a little bit more rugged than your typical vehicle. The suspension's nice and smooth, absorbing bumps really well, and even taking some quicker paced turns. It's honestly a pretty confident to drive car. So this would be honestly a really good road trip vehicle, especially going into the mountains, which I would assume a lot of Subaru owners are going to those types of places. So taking the twisty roads, you're really not going to have an issue. Pretty quiet in here too. You don't really hear any wind noise or road noise at all. So honestly, it's a nice to be in kind of car. So no real complaints there. The infotainment, everything is very simple, very straightforward. My only complaint is the screen lag. It's a little annoying, especially when you get into the car, and it takes like 20 seconds for these controls for climate to even turn on, and they're basically left in the setting you left them in. So if it's a hot day and you got your AC blasting, you get in and you're freezing cold in the morning. So I really would like those to be less laggy. And earlier today, tapping just some of these, the screen froze on me for like 10 seconds. So I just wish there was less lag in the screen. Other than that though, it works fine, and most of the time you're not really going to have an issue. So driving's really fine. The shiftable mode, I don't know if you'd really use it unless you just need to hold a higher RPM for mountain driving, like when you have a really steep hill, or if you are towing a small thing on the back, or maybe have a bike rack or something, you want to have a little bit higher RPM on something steeper. So it's interesting to be able to use that. I doubt most people are going to. So hitting that pretty big bump, honestly, you have the ground clearance in this and the softer suspension to take stuff like that. So like I said, if you're going in the mountains or an off-pavement trail to do a camping trip or a hiking trip or something, this is going to get you there. And with the X modes, that'll pop up on the screen here. In the slow speed, you have that off-road and slippery setting. So it seems like a pretty fine vehicle to drive. It's going to get you the place you need to go. And for the price point, it's not an expensive car. And yet you do have the nice amenities, the nice safety and technology, as well as an interior that feels pretty nice with the leather seats and everything. So not bad. Steering's nice and light, but direct enough. Brakes all work really well. Not a bad, affordable, rugged car for sure. So my honest thoughts with the Subaru Crosstrek. We've been driving this around for a couple days now. I think this really shines if you're just looking for a good daily kind of economy crossover, but you do have an active, adventurous lifestyle. You're going to be going on camping trips, going mountain hiking, things like that, to where you're going to be using this vehicle to get you places that don't exactly have the best paved roads. So Subaru obviously is a very good wilderness style brand. They have that in their DNA. This is a car you can take pretty much anywhere, and it's going to get you a lot of places and do it with the space you need and the capabilities you need. So I like how it doesn't really sacrifice much on-road capabilities. It's a smooth to drive car. I've really had no complaints as far as comfort goes. I mean, it's literally a nice car to drive. It's a little slow in my opinion, but I'm used to a lot faster cars. And the CVT, I'm just not a fan of CVTs. It's a little odd. There's these gear changes like I was saying. There's no gears in CVTs, and yet it feels like there's gear changes. So just a little interesting. I don't think your typical buyer will notice and even care. It's nothing really to make you not like the car or anything. So normal driving's fine. It is easy to see around. It's easy to pilot. It's a smaller footprint of a vehicle to where parking is super easy. I mean, you don't have to worry about where you're going to take this car. It can go so many places, not only with its capabilities with the ground clearance and the all-wheel drive system, but it's just not all too big. So I like how it's an easy car to drive places, and with the space you have in the interior, while the back seats are a little less than ideal for an adult, it's roomy for stuff, for dogs, for really anything you're going to need. So you can use this and truly just do a lot with it. The technology and everything is basically what you would expect, so nothing crazy fancy there, but it gives you everything you're going to need. So I think this has a lot to offer, and while we can't really go off-roading with this, there's no real places for me to take this off-road. We all know Subarus are pretty capable for a lot of things, so gravel roads, mountain trips, you're really not going to have any issues. So I think if you are just looking for something that's going to get the job done from point A to point B as far as your daily driver commuter car for the work week, but then you want to go places that are extra fun on the weekends, that are a little off the grid, this is going to take you there pretty nicely. And this limited trim level is a pretty good trim. I think the seats, they look really good. You have some nice amenities and some luxury aspects to it, to where you're going to be able to be comfortable in this car and have technology and the fancy things that some more expensive cars will have. You got the sunroof on it as well. So it seems like a well-rounded package, and for 35 grand, you know, nothing crazy to break the bank. Way cheaper than the industry average, so really nothing hard to be able to get into one of these. And it looks kind of like what you would expect. You know, this may not be everybody's style, of course, but the Subaru look, this is what this car has to offer. And this looks like it is well within the Subaru family. But I think there is a full look at the Subaru Crosstrek. Not much more to talk about, I don't think. You know, it's not a fancy car. There's not a million things about it. However, it's a pretty capable, smaller size crossover that is fine to drive on the road. I don't think you're going to have any complaints. And then it has some nice capabilities to take you places that some other vehicles may not be able to get you. But there you guys go. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for plenty more content, and I'll see you all in the next video.